Okay, good morning, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me know if you guys can hear my audio and see my screen in the chat box. Just give me a little Y or a yes there. Just to let me know that it is indeed working. Hope everybody's having a fantastic morning so far. Happy Wednesday, middle of the week here. Awesome, awesome. Well, sweet. Also want to give a shout out to those of you new in the program. If you are new, let us know in the chat box. Just let us know what state or what country you're from so we can welcome you here. And also want to just welcome those of you watching this in the recording. Want to say hello to you guys, welcome you to participate in any way you can. If you have questions throughout the webinar, feel free to ask those questions in the chat box function. If you have questions in the recording, feel free to ask those questions in the comment section down below. All right, guys, well, let's go ahead and jump into this. As always, I need to remind you about the risks involved in this market. You can lose all or more than your initial investment if you're not careful. So please be aware of how many pips you're risking on each trade, in addition to how big your lot size is, and ultimately how that would affect your account if you were to lose money. So make sure that you're going through that process each and every time that you take a trade. All right, guys. So we had a pretty cool night actually with some of our trades. And let's update it. So let's do a couple of things. Let's start off by going over our COT report trade. So let's go ahead and fill out our journal here with where we're at. Let me pull up my app 1 second, and we'll just go from there. Okay. Yeah, last night I kind of went to bed a little disappointed, but now everything's kind of doing great again. I mean, disappointed, like we were still up. I just saw things kind of pulling back a little bit. And then this morning, just everything came in clutch. Just everything started going in our favor again. So it was super awesome. Well, most everything, right? So let's start with the pound CAD. Yesterday, when we were in the webinar, it was up 38 pips. Pound CAD is up 62. So that's nice. Pound yen yesterday was up 2. Now it's just up 18. So not a huge change on the pound yen. Kind of a quiet week for GJ this week. And then you've got pound Aussie. This one was up 148 yesterday. Now it's up 152. So slight improvement there. NZD CAD is, let's see, where's the NZD CAD? This one was down 9 pips, or down 19. Now it's down 9. NZD JPY, this one hit my stop loss a day ago, I believe, a little over a day ago, minus 68 pips. And then the Aussie Kiwi, this one was up 44 yesterday. Now it's up 39. So just about where it was yesterday. So up 194 pips on the leverage funds trades. Let's go take a look at commercial shift. On commercial shift, yesterday we were up a ton. So at least in the webinar we were. Then I saw last night it kind of in the evening, it kind of pulled back. Now we're back up again. So let's kind of see where we're at. Pound Aussie is up. I've got 156 now on the pound Aussie. Aussie CAD, I've got 34 pips. Aussie yen is up 68. Aussie Kiwi is up 40. Aussie dollar is up 97. And the Euro Aussie is up 207. That's probably the biggest jump. That was from 157 or 158 to 207. So nice. So yeah, a little bit of improvement from yesterday. So we're up 602 pips from commercial shift. That's awesome. And let's actually go take a look at the charts. And actually, let's maybe we'll just jump right into the price action trades. And then we can hunt for some other setups potentially, but let's go look at the Euro Aussie. Let's pull up, this is the daily chart. Let's go back down to a 15-minute. So yeah, you can see this is our price action trade. So this is the trade that we posted right here on Telegram. I posted this setup with you guys yesterday in the webinar. Found a nice little pennant pattern. We kind of suspected that it was going to pull back a little bit into like a fair value gap, which it did. Came down to here and came up. It went a little bit deeper than I had hoped it would go into the well, it wasn't too bad though. Like it came into actually flirted with our stop loss for just a second right there last night. got really close right there, but didn't quite get to our stop loss. So this trade is now doing great. Very happy with this setup. And we're almost to our target, very, very close. So this trade, um, we are currently up about 81 pips on this setup that we posted yesterday, and it's got another like 30 pips to go or so, maybe 25. Let's see, what is that? Yeah, it's about 25 pips or so, which is awesome. So this is at an all-week high right here. So an all-week high. This is where the week started over here. And this has been, this was my second best pick of the week and behind the pound Aussie, which has also been doing okay. This one's doing a little bit better though. And it's pretty fun to see where it started. You know, this is where the signal came in on the scanner, and the COT data was to buy right here. And boy, was that right. Really, really, really good trade. And then pretty nice to be able to find a midweek setup like we did here. So my plan is just to let it continue. Definitely at this point, you can bring your stop loss to break even or even in the money. That's totally appropriate. Definitely something you can do. Um, but yeah, this one, let's kind of talk about this in a little more detail. So what we did yesterday is, and let's actually do a rewind. If we do a rewind back to where we were, this is kind of where the market was yesterday, and this is what we were looking at together. And I was actually thinking about buying at market, but I kind of I've seen this pattern before, this pennant, and I was telling you guys yesterday in the webinar if you want to go back and watch it. But one of the things that I've observed when I trade these pennant patterns is often the market will basically go try to stop everybody out who got in long. And then once they stop everybody out, that's when they take it up, type of thing. And this almost did it exactly, very close to what we had expected. Um, and if you pull up even a 5-minute chart, we found a couple of order blocks in here that helped us kind of narrow in on, um, let's see, there was another one right here. Maybe it was on a 3-minute chart. Let me try that. Well, I'm not sure why it's not showing up, but there was two order blocks in here. This is the 3 and 5 minute. And again, I don't hardly ever trade on these time frames. I'm just trying to illustrate that there was indeed some order blocks nestled in here and thus some liquidity that I think the market was trying to uh, find peace with and mitigate. And so that was kind of in here in this area. And then we kind of analyzed this, whatever this is over here, whatever happened here. It looks like there were some orders being placed in that um, little consolidation. So often there's liquidity tied up in that. So we've kind of felt like this was the area where, because we had an order block here on a couple of time frames actually, and then we had obviously some consolidation going on here, right here. So we said, okay, well, if this market comes down, it'll likely try to attack this area because there's definitely something going on here, and then it will resume the uptrend. So that's why we placed our entry here. We thought about even placing our entry. If you guys remember yesterday, we thought about placing our entry just below this, um, like the support of this pennant pattern. We thought about putting it right here, but we kind of decided against it because we had these order blocks in here that looked like the market may try to come after them. And then obviously let's go back up to the 15-minute chart. So now that let's kind of fast forward, and the market did indeed, it came down right here, attacked this order block. And I believe it came down one more time. Yep, there it is. It attacked this last one right here. And then it made a nice little reverse head and shoulders here. And then here we are. Um, so yeah. And then we've got, and this is what I was saying. This is a reverse head and shoulders. We didn't see this. This was not part of the analysis, but this just naturally developed by natural course as this market progressed. That little reverse head and shoulders showed up. So, Um, yeah, any questions on this setup? This was pretty darn good actually. I think the only thing we could have done better is we could have found an entry even lower. You know, it would have been nice to have entered down here instead, but you know, I didn't want to miss out on that order block. And you can kind of see the market did react to whatever order block was right in here. It did react to it a little bit, had a little bit of a bounce, but then the market ultimately decided to attack whatever was in here. And then it finished. Then it was like, okay, we got what we needed. The banks were like, okay, we got what we needed. And then it's like, boom. Now we're up and away from there. Um, but yeah, there's really not much more to this. It really would have been a bummer had this hit its stop loss. I'm so glad we didn't. We were pretty close, definitely pretty close there for a little bit. Now we're looking really good. And like I said, my game plan is to continue to hold for the next 25 pips to this target. I think that's a very, we got a pretty high likelihood of getting there. And I believe, yeah, a lot of our, let me look at my other trades. Yeah, the rest of our COT trades, yeah, everything is just really on fire right now. So that's really fun to wake up to that this morning. All right, so I don't see any questions about this trade, so we'll move on, and we'll look for some other setups. But again, we're just going to leave that. And let me just actually make an update in the chat so everybody knows what we're doing. Okay. All right, perfect. Okay, we'll do that. All right, so we'll let that do its thing. And that's the only trade, like price action trade we have open right now. So, and it's kind of nice that it's um, coming to an end here pretty soon. So that's kind of nice. We can look for some other setups. Let's pull up the scanner. Also, welcome Jeff from Long Island, New York. Awesome to have you here. Welcome. And also those of you others that are new here with us today, and of course, all of you guys that are regulars, welcome back. Okay, so when we're looking at the scanner, by the way, sometimes it's not doing it right now, or at least it's doing it just with a couple of these. You might come in here, it might say loading on a couple of metrics. It's usually going to do that on the like the breakout indicator or the 5-day change. And there's a reason to that. It's just like it's a programming thing. It's not an error. It's just that we're pulling a lot of live data, and when we do that, it takes a second for some of this to actualize. So sometimes if you just give it a second, it'll load up. If you refresh the page or come back, it'll usually work, but it doesn't happen all too often. I've just noticed that recently there's been a couple of times where it's been loading in the scanner. Right now, it looks like we've got everything's clean over here with the signals. So yeah, nothing's loading here. I don't see, so that's good. Nothing's affected, which is good. Last night there was several trades that did actually have the loading sign on, but like I said, it does go away. It's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with um, there's nothing wrong necessarily with it. It's just that it's trying to, it's we're the scanner is actually going out into the internet and other places that we collect data from, and it's just pulling it in constantly. It's constantly pinging new information. Okay, so anyway, all right, so let's look at this. So, like I said, last night I'm kind of mad at myself because there were some really good entries. I was kind of kicking myself. Like for example, this pound Aussie. This is, as you guys know, this is my top pick of the week. This has got a very good shift. It's got the biggest, in fact, it's got the biggest shift in COT data, the pound Aussie. And this was actually pulling back last night. If you actually pull up the pound Aussie, you can see what I'm talking about. So last night we had a pretty substantial pullback here. And then this morning we've come all the way back up. So this is something that you guys, this is how I would use the scanner. This is how I use the scanner. I'm just kicking myself. I didn't add more to the position. But during the week, when you get something that has, that's high up on the shift, like this one, where, this is actually the biggest shift of the week. You've got a great breakout potential over here. 9 out of 10 stars. And actually last night, this was 10 out of 10 for a moment. So I was like, okay, yeah, there's probably a big move coming on the pound Aussie here. Sentiment data hasn't really done anything. It's been actually generally neutral. The COT signal has been a strong buy, as you guys know. So this has kind of been my top pick. And so when this pulled back, I was thinking, nah, I really should buy some more, right? So that's kind of how I view it. If I get something where the signal is strong for the week and you get some kind of pullback against the signal like this one. So the market was kind of high up here on Monday and Tuesday when it came up here for the pound Aussie. And so naturally I was thinking, uh, seems like a high price. Maybe I won't buy right now because I already bought down here, and that just seems like too big of a. That seems like too big of a. Like you're buying at kind of a higher price. And so I was thinking, let's wait for a discount. The discount came last night, and I didn't take any action. I mean, we did on the Euro Aussie, so I felt like okay, so I felt like I got some of that action in through the Euro Aussie, but I'm kind of mad because I literally was staring at this I was up kind of late watching the London market, and I was staring at this right when it was down here, and I was like, I should really get into a buy right now. I mean, I already have some buys, but I'm like, I should really get into another one. And that's the cost of inaction, right? Not actually not taking action when you see an opportunity, right? Um, but I just think it's pretty cool to see that kind of thing. You look at some of these other ones on the scanner that have been doing pretty good. Pound Aussie buy, Euro Aussie buy. We already looked at that one. Let's look at some of these other really strong signals here. Aussie dollar sell. This one last night was actually going up too, and now it's had its nice pullback this morning. Yeah, last night I remember seeing this up here on the Aussie dollar, and I thought, again, maybe I should get into another sell on this, and then came down. Hit a little demand here, so we'll see if it does anything, like if it actually pulls up or if it continues lower. I'm not exactly sure what this one's going to do. I'm kind of of the opinion with a lot of these Aussie pairs, they're going to kind of just go a little bit more. And then I don't know how much more we're going to get out of these because we've already gotten so much. Like we're up over 600 pips just from the 6 commercial shift trades. So that's pretty good. I don't know if we're going to get a lot more out of these. I mean, this Aussie dollar does have. Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember looking at this one with you guys the other day. So the one, I guess, strong redeeming quality with this Aussie dollar, as far as where it's going to go next, is the fact that we've got a pretty solid trend line right here. Okay. And we haven't quite re-engaged with that trend line, and the signal is a pretty strong sell right now. So we haven't even gotten back to this right here. So that's kind of where I think a lot of things are going to go. Like there's a little bit more to go as far as selling this because this isn't really a natural place for the market to bounce right here. There really isn't a lot of support in this area. There's a little bit, but the real demands and the real liquidity is really actually in this area, right? Some of this right here. And even I would say even in here is a good place. And the market's not even quite there yet. So actually it's got a ways to go. So I think at minimum, like this Aussie dollar, if you're looking for sells for the rest of the week, if you want to take some extra price action trades, I actually think this is a really good one. And basically try to get it back to that trend line. I think that's what's going to happen. Um, I think that's what you can get out of this. So we could actually take an additional entry here. There's a potential to sell inside this block, and there might even be some blocks up in here that might be worth trying to get to. But that's kind of the game plan, is try to sell this into that trend line. That's a good one. Let's look at some of these others. The Aussie yen is another good sell. This one's been going down this week. Today, not as much, but it is down today nonetheless, which is good. And again, this is another one of those where I saw this last night and I just was just looking at this like, I should sell this one. And I didn't get into it. It had a nice head and shoulders pattern right here. And then just in the last couple of hours, it's just taken a really nice dip out of here. It broke this little trend line. As you can see right here, it broke that trend line. And now it's on its way down. Where could this one end up by the end of the week? Let's kind of expand this one out and take a look. Yeah, so when you look at this one, where's most of the demand? It's kind of like nestled in here, right? So this one actually does have a potential to go quite a bit more still too. Um, yeah, like down in that's still 60 pips away, 50, 60 pips away. There's definitely room for that. This one might actually have a little bit more than some of the others, maybe more than the Aussie dollar. Um, now that it's cleared this trend line right here and formed that head and shoulders, it might actually be pretty good. That actually, yeah, that could be pretty good. So that's another good one. Um, the Aussie CAD's another good sell. Pretty much the Aussie has been the highlight this week. Anything selling the Aussie pretty much is has been the highlight. This one's a little more ugly. It did have, similar to the Aussie yen, did have a nice head and shoulders pattern right here. Nice little head and shoulders. And yeah, this one could come up and try to tag some of this supply right up in here and maybe come down. I'd need to look into that one a little bit more. I personally don't like it as much. I think the CAD has been, let's see if the Aussies, um, I think the CAD's been a little bit stronger. And because of that, no, excuse me, the CAD's been really weak. Yeah, because if the Aussie's down, yeah, and that makes sense because of oil. Oil's been collapsing recently, so the CAD's been down and Aussie's been down. So basically, what you have going on here with the Aussie CAD is I believe you have the two weakest currencies in the market right here, battling out to find out who's the weakest of them all for the week, and that's pretty much your Aussie CAD. So I'm not a big fan of this one. It's like I said, you've got the Aussie, who's the clear front runner, weak currency. Um, which by the way, does that mean I haven't been watching gold? Gold should be going down because of that. Yep, yeah, gold's been going down. So basically, and then, by the way, that's something I'm going to be adding soon. I've been promising that. I've been trying to gather all the data I need for gold, but I've been wanting to get gold on the scanner for those of you that want to trade gold. I think that'll be very valuable to have gold on that scanner. Um, but I'll put it this way, if Aussie has such a strong sell, there's probably a pretty good chance that gold's going to go down because there's a peg between the Australian dollar and gold. So, it's the same thing, like there's a peg between the Canadian dollar and oil. So they kind of follow each other. right? Um, but yeah, oil's been just absolutely, here's oil right here, just been crushed this whole week. I can't complain. I'm not going to complain though. It's been nice, a little bit better at the gas pump though. And I live in a place where the gas prices are generally higher. I went to Texas a week ago and I was just so like, wow, these gas prices are amazing. Right? You don't get that. I guess Utah has higher gas prices. I don't know why. Or maybe we're average. Maybe we're just average. I don't know where we stand that way. I just went to Texas and I was just really jealous. Anyway, but it's nice to see that. We'll see if that carries out at the pump, which would be kind of nice. I don't really drive a lot though, so but still would be nice. Okay, so but that's the story behind the Aussie CAD. That's what we were talking about. Is you've got the two are really weak right now because you've got CAD coming down, Aussie coming down, and so I think that's one of the reasons why when you look at the CAD, it's been kind of more of a chop. Even though the signal's a strong sell, and it has been coming down, it's just a little more choppy, and I think it's just because of that weakness. So I'm probably going to stay away from this one. I still have a trade here, and I'm going to keep that open the rest of the week. Um, yeah, I'm going to close that Friday unless, of course, something else changes. But that's one of the reasons why you're seeing this so choppy. Okay, we already looked at pound Aussie, euro Aussie. The only one that I'm kind of confused on, and I think I know what's going on with it. The This CAD Franc has got a strong buy, and it's mainly due to the sentiment because sentiment's at a breaking point. So we can talk about this one because everything else has basically followed what the scanner has suggested for your strong signals. It's pretty much just been to a T perfect, except this one. And so we can break down this one. There's a reason why. So basically, this CAD Franc does have a lot of retail traders who are buying it right now. And typically that's going to be um, typically that's going to be a sell signal actually, because you've got most retail traders who are buying. However, when you start to get to a point like this, in fact, if you filter this by the most bullish um, versus most bearish um, sentiment, like if you just use these two filters right here, you can see the CAD Franc is the highest on this list. It's extremely um, bought up right now by retail traders. And usually when this happens, that's kind of an indication that um, there's going to be some kind of a reversal coming soon. Okay, so right now it's been going down. The CAD Franc's been going down. We've got a slight, it's not a huge one, but we've had a slight signal to buy uh because of COT data. It's very slight. This one almost didn't even make the cut, but it is still nonetheless a positive shift. So I'd say the COT data on here is pretty weak. Um, well, it's not weak. It just means it doesn't really give you a reading. It's just slightly leaning towards the buy side. And so that's one of the reasons why you're gonna get, a buy here. And it barely made the cut. I can't remember what my settings are on this, but it barely made the cut to be a buy. Otherwise, it just would have been neutral. The sentiment signal says strong buy here, and again, that's because you're in a crowded market. So, well, the CAD Franc's in a crowded market because you've got a lot of retail traders who are buying, insofar that when this happens, at some point, it's got to break the other way, right? It's got to look at breaking the other way. But that hasn't happened yet, and I do think one of the reasons for that is because of the um, I think one of the reasons for that is because of oil. Because oil's been coming down, the CAD has been coming down too. And so even though the Franc has been, let's see, Franc, if CAD's coming down, Franc has been going up. Um, I kind of expected this week for the Franc to be actually down. Um, so that's kind of surprising. But I think it's more led not so much by the Franc, it's more led by the Canadian dollar and oil that's causing this to come down right now. That's what's going on. So it is a little surprising. I did have a trade on here. It already stopped out, of course. And I haven't really gotten in for another re-entry, but it does look like you're coming into some areas right here that might be worth looking at. And like I said, there is still nonetheless a slight push to the upside, and you do have sentiment that suggests that it's overcrowded with buyers, and soon you should start to see this come up. Potentially. Again, that is potential. It's not necessarily going to happen, but it is something worth at least considering. So with this is actually one. So everything has been seamless with the scanner, except like I said, this is the only one where I'm just like, hey, that's not good, right? That's the only one. Everything else has been seamless. And so this is one of the reasons why, and I think it's nice that we can talk about this while we're having a really good week and trading's been going well. This is one of the reasons why you can't go around risk management, okay? Because sometimes we're just going to get it wrong, okay? Even the scanner is going to get trades wrong. That's another thing too, like the scanner is more of a holistic week-long signal generally, right? And most of those trades ought to be successful by the end of the week, even if they're going against you like on a Monday or a Tuesday. Fortunately for us, practically everything was just profitable from the outset. Like we were just making money practically from the beginning. And obviously we're sitting really, really good right now with our week to week trades. So like I said, it's easier to talk about this when you're winning, but I do want to cover this nonetheless, that there's no way around risk management. So you can't just go out there with any scanner, any system, any strategy and just throw trades out there and like cross your fingers and like, okay, this should work, right? Eventually you'll catch a trade like this, and if you're caught off guard and you've over risked and you put too big of a position on there and you've doubled, tripled down, and because the canner said so or something like that, you're gonna end up there's gonna be a week where you just pile all your capital into one trade and it just falls apart. Okay. I've done this kind of thing. In fact, last week I shared with you guys the worst trading loss I've ever had before and what led up to it, how I was able to lose and have my biggest loser ever. And it was because, well, one of the reasons was because I was doubling down into multiple positions. Um, uh, I just multiplied the position, right? In the same, like while I was still open, I was just carrying the drawdown and just staying in the trade. So, like even this trade, it's been down and but there is a potential for a sharp move to the upside once it tags into this demand here. We will see. I kind of think that might be coming just based off of what I'm seeing on the scanner. But again, I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. So, like, if you're going to take a price action trade on something like this, make sure that you're managing your risk, because you could lose. This is the only doink, I guess, if you want to call it, from the scanner this week, I'd say, is this one. Everything else has been pretty much right on schedule, right on target, whatever you want to call it. It's been right where you want to, right where you want to have it. It's been pretty good. Um, yeah, pretty much everything else has been pretty decent, pretty solid. Um, let's see. Let's look at some of these other questions here. Lee says, took a pound Aussie price action trade last night. Keeps tickling with my take profit. Nice. Yep. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, pound Aussie. And again, that's another thing too, guys, when you're evaluating these signals, and maybe that's something I can work on better too. Even though the CAD Franc does have a strong buy, definitely take a look at these shifts, right? Like notice that, like, what's causing the signal to be strong? Well, it's mostly led by the sentiment. So that's not bad necessarily. Just know what's going on, right? Like, okay, all of these other signals that were strong buys and strong sells this week, how many is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 strong buys and sells this week. 5 of them are basically essentially based off of sentiment. Okay. Or not sentiments, COT data. And only one of them was more driven by the subsequent sentiment signal. That doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. I'm just trying to illustrate the point that um if you can get both to be strong buys and strong sells, that's even better, which we actually don't have this week. Like this Euro Aussie is actually just a buy and a buy. Pound Aussie is a strong buy, but it has the biggest shift. Unfortunately, the sentiment is neutral. But it does have the biggest shift, which would be worth something. CAD Franc, like I said, does have a strong buy as far as sentiment goes, but it is definitely like this. It's the worst of the shifts, if you want to put it that way. In fact, it almost didn't even make the cut. Like I was saying, practically didn't make the cut. But everything else here has been pretty good. And then one of the things I like to do, I've shown you guys this before, is I like to filter trades by the biggest shifts first, both positive and negative. And this brings us to our next question, which Jeff says, can you explain the COT shift number on the scanner, please? Yeah, totally. So the shift itself, this number represents the net change. It's a percent net change in bank positions on specific currency pairs. So the biggest shift this week when you filter this is the pound Aussie. So there's been a 9.57% positive shift on the pound Aussie. So what that means is in just a single week, the banks have increased their positions by almost 10% on the pound Aussie, which is pretty good. Last week we actually had some bigger ones, like the NZD franc was like a long last week, if you guys recall, and NZD CAD, NZD yen, some of those were really good. Those ones, one of them had like a 20% shift, which was super high. The biggest I've ever seen was 23 or 26%. That ever. That's the biggest one I've ever seen so far. I'm sure that could change in the future, but that's what I've seen. So this is still pretty significant. Like a 10%, almost a 10% shift is pretty darn good. And it just means that from the last COT publication to the next one and the most recent one we have, that means that there was almost a 10% shift in positions. Which is one of the big reasons why that's been my top pick this week. Often you'll see like when I tell you guys on Monday what my top 2 picks are, often it's going to just be either just the top 2 shift trades, or it's going to be like it's going to be definitely, it probably will be one of the top shift trades. If it's not the top shift, it'll probably be in the top 3 or 4, because I mean, the shift really matters, right? It definitely matters. When you filter this by negative shift, what that means is they decrease their positions on that pair. It doesn't necessarily mean they decrease their like open interest positions. It just means that they shifted negative. So they shifted to the short side. So when you see a minus 7.89, that means that, like on the Aussie CAD there, that just essentially means that the banks started to go short on the Aussie CAD to the tune of almost 8% in a single week, right? That's why that's another pretty darn good trade. Yeah, for the week. Once you get over, I don't exactly remember how I have this set up, but once you start to get over like 6, 7%, 8%, as far as a shift goes, that's pretty significant. Okay. It starts to get really significant at that point. Okay. So just kind of keep that in mind. That's kind of what you're looking for. And the scanner already does this for you. But once you start to get those kinds of shifts, then it's like, okay, yeah, that's starting to become a pretty good trade. Like this pound Aussie was the only one that met a strong buy. The Euro Aussie was pretty darn close. It was a close front runner, but or runner up, but didn't quite get there. Okay. Awesome. So does that, I hope that makes sense, Jeff. It's just the percent net change in COT positions by the banks each week. Okay, awesome. Jim says all of my pairs are now at $1,700, including about $1,300 for my um, uh, commercial pairs. Nice. NZD CAD stopped out, but I brought it back in. Now it's 50. Nice. Nice work, Jim. Fantastic job. Yeah, it's been a good week. Definitely been a good week. Overall, that's for sure. And like I was saying earlier, this price action trade, that's kind of nice to have a midweek price action trade. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Midweek price action trade. We'll leave this one on to do its thing. I think it definitely will get to that last 25 pips. So I have some confidence leaving this here. I really do. I mean, I could be wrong. Who knows? But I think you can definitely bring your stop loss to break even on the Euro Aussie, maybe even in the money. If you want to bring it in the money, maybe bring it about a third of the way in the money if that's something you want to do. But at least to break even for sure. Definitely bring it to break even. You'd be good. Um, but that's awesome. That's nice to have another trade like that. So I'm looking for other setups, guys. A lot of stuff has already moved in our direction. I'm looking at this Aussie dollar and Aussie yen. Those two have some good options. I'm thinking maybe the Aussie dollar is probably the best. If for like an additional price action trade, here we are midweek, right? So I'm thinking about selling something like right there or right here, or both. Let's actually look at some of these other time frames. And actually, they're saying that's more it right there. We might do that. Okay, let's that. Let's try a 30-minute. Try an hourly. Yeah, I think this is not a bad trade. We might post this one right here. I'm looking for just some good order blocks. Let's turn on all these indicators. Let's see where those order blocks are. It looks like there's actually one right in here. Um, yeah. Okay, I like it, guys. So let's go ahead and post this. Um, Here's what I'm thinking. Let's for the trade setup on like for an additional trade, if you want to take another price action trade with me this week, let's do this. Let's put an entry right here. Stop loss there. The stop loss is I just can't figure out exactly where all the liquidity is. You can kind of tell that there's a bunch of blocks in here and also here. So I can't really localize. I don't know exactly where it's going to go. Let's put it that way. I don't know if it's going to go up to here or here. I just don't, I can't really tell. So, but I'm going to go with that. And then I'm going to try to target these blocks down here. I think it's possible we get to those by Friday. So I'm going to do something like this. So now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and remove these. I'm going to remove this too. That's fine. And just do something like this. And then this is the demand basically over here that we're trying to get to. Something like that. I think that looks pretty good. And you got a nice, it's starting to fall off. Like you can tell this is bearish price action. Like I hope you guys can start to recognize this as time goes on and as you improve your trading skills. Like I hope you can start to see some of these types of things. Like look at this, you've got a little BOS going on in here. You got a head and shoulders going on there. Um, Like that's, and then you've got this old trend line that we haven't tapped into yet. So this is definitely bearish. And not only that, but we have the scanner to confirm that this is absolutely generally bearish signal. So I like this one. I think this could be another really good trade to take. And again, when you guys take these trades, it's really important to remember to just trade like normal. Like, don't go out and, like, if you missed these weekend trades, if you missed the Euro Aussie trade that we just took, that's also doing well. If you're feeling like everybody's making money and you're missing out, I know that feeling. I've totally been there. So all you can do when you're feeling that is just to keep just start and just get back in the rhythm. Um, but what you don't want to do is try to catch up with everybody else and or at least what you feel like is catching up. There's no catching up here. It's just you doing your best. That's all you can do. So one of the things you do is you just take the trade, you use your lot size calculator, you plug in your stop loss, and you trade like a professional, right? Like that's what you can do. And you're not too worried about, like, okay, man, I wish I'm seeing other traders are taking the same trades, but they've made thousands this week and I've only made, a little bit or whatever. Again, you just got to work where you are at and build from there. That's how you're going to stay consistent. So, like, definitely take this trade, absolutely. But make sure it's within uh your risk management, your account size, all that kind of stuff is really important. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get this posted here. I probably won't talk too much. If you guys have other questions, feel free to put those questions in the chat box now while I put this together. And as a reminder, these are pending orders. So what that means is that the trade has not executed yet. This is if the market goes to certain price, then we execute, right? That's the type of trade that we're taking. So, if this market goes up to our entry, then we sell. Um, so I'm not trying to just sell right away. I'm trying to get a little bit of a better place to do it, just like we did with the last one. Okay, so our entry is going to be at 0.64299. We're going to take profits at 0.63720 and stop out at 0.64493. Okay, that looks good. We'll post that. That looks good. Yes. There should be a basic training. Good question, Lee. So Lee says, I missed the basic training on Monday. Blame it on the time change. Yes, definitely. Uh, that is always rough every year. Will you post the video? Can't find it on the calendar. Yeah, I believe it is on the calendar. If you go to the Forex Plus calendar, it is a Forex Plus event, which most people have access to, I believe. So it is kind of but like, I think 90% of everybody here has that membership to the Forex Plus calendar. So you should be able to get in here. Um, Here, let's click on this. And if you click on weekly training, I believe it's in here. Yeah, I did upload the record. Yeah, it's uploading the recording here. So yeah, it's uploaded. Yeah, so that's on Sentiment Basics. Yeah, that's uploaded. Yep, it's right here on the Forex Plus calendar. Um, Let me know if you still can't get in, Lee, though. And I can help you get in if there's something else going on there. But you it should be uploaded. Everything should be uploaded. And actually, while I've got you guys here just for a second, the we do have another class tonight. We have COT report. That's going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Mountain. That's my time zone. So if you guys want to come to that, that'd be super awesome. That's tonight. What I'd like to do is kind of do a little bit more basics on the COT report. We'll still do back test some. I'll show you some back testing I've done with the COT report recently, but we've just had a lot of new folks join the program recently, and so I wanted to give a little bit more of a spend a little more time on the introduction of the COT report. So if you're interested in an introduction to the COT report and getting to know it and know what it's like, what it is, and how we use it, and all that kind of stuff. Um, that class is specifically for that. So you'll want to come to that. If you can't make it live, it obviously will be recorded. Recordings are usually uploaded and viewable within 30 minutes after the webinar is over. So if you ever want to come back and watch any webinar, live tradings, basic trainings, COT reports, sentiment webinars, prop firm webinars, anything, it's all recorded and they're uploaded within 30 minutes. So Jeff says, I've closed a few trades this week and I'm up 330 pips. Right on, rock on. That's awesome. So far on the week, looking for another 100 by Friday. This is a great spot to be at 100%. I love that. Very good news. Love to hear that. All right, guys. Well, have a fantastic rest of your day. Hopefully we see some of you guys tonight in the COT report webinar. But yeah, enjoy your day and we'll see you guys soon.